went up to the Drake Well Museum today and did the Oil Creek Stacked races, which is a 5-mile and a 13-mile race, and you can do both. 5-miler starts at 7, 13-miler starts at 8:30. Did all right. My plan was, and you know, my goal obviously was to win both races and take the stacked, the combined times. Fell a little bit short of my goal. Took 2 out of 3. I finished 3rd in the 5-miler, finished 1st in the 13-miler, and I took the combined time stacked. So I did fall a little bit short, but I'm still going home happy overall with like the performance that I put on. Was not my best performance by far. Definitely struggled. Not sure what it was, but I don't know. Because I went to the Elderton 5K last night as a shakeout run. Then I drove up here to Titusville last night, which was 2 hours after that race. I didn't get to my hotel till like 11. I think at like 11:02 to be exact. Didn't even get to bed till probably close to 12:30. Had to get up at 5:50 for the race. But the race is only 10 minutes away. So it's not like I had a far drive, which allowed me to sleep a few more minutes. Since I had to get up so early, I missed breakfast, but I took a peanut butter jelly up with me, and I ate some crackers. I had a blue Gatorade this morning, and I was drinking some Celsius for my fuel, just trying to wake me up and get some calories in me. I knew it wasn't really enough for what I really wanted. That's what I was stuck with. I knew when I arrived I wasn't really feeling it this morning, so I knew it was going to be a little bit of a struggle. I guess that's to be expected. What I've done the last few weeks, it's finally catching up to me a little bit. It was a little foggy and humid this morning. It was still 60-ish. But the humidity and stuff, because you could see the fog, so that was very noticeable. Because I tried out my new compression shorts, which really aren't compression shorts. At least I didn't feel anything, that I bought on Amazon the other day. They're more just like base layer or anything, just to keep my nuts from bouncing around. So I'm very disappointed in them. Maybe after I wash them they get a little tighter, but they're definitely not 2X used. So I'm just gonna have to splurge and get some more of them. But I did take my Naked Belt. I put a 9-ounce bottle in. I figured that's all I needed for the 5. I don't even think I took a drink of it during the race, because it was only 5 miles. So you started the one bridge right before the museum, and then you quickly get off the road and onto the trail. Maybe 3/10 before the single track starts, and then the rest is basically single track. You might be able to go 2 wide if you really wanted to, but it's not really feasible for the 5-miler. Yeah, so I finished 3rd overall in like 41 minutes. A couple minutes behind when I did it in 2022, and I set my Pace Pro up for 39 minutes because I figured, you're in shape the way you've been running, you should be able to maintain it, or at least use that as the standard for your goal time. And obviously a couple minutes behind it because I just sucked ass today. Never led the race at all for the 5-miler. This one kid from, well, I guess he's from Teal College. At least he's wearing a singlet from there. Can't remember his name. Can't remember second place's name offhand. Too many people. I was talking to too many people today, so it's kind of all a blur right now. Plus I'm tired. But he won. I was behind him for a little bit, maybe a half mile or so. We're going up that first climb. Again, there's 2 big climbs. First one is like right away on the single track, a couple hundred feet. And second place was like right behind me, and I let him go around because my legs were burning. I knew I just didn't have it. And I just figured maybe later in the race I could pass them both up, just stay close with them. So that was sort of my plan. I just like to push them a little bit, you know, to play that game and see what I can do. Maybe they burn up. So yeah, the plan of attack was to maybe put it on at like mile 4, but I just didn't have anything in my legs to push it. And I wish I did. Wish I was a little bit fresher, because the award for the 5 mile is what I really wanted today. Some kind of like oil tester thing. It was like handmade. I thought that was pretty cool. It looks like a big walk. It was made into like a walking stick, but it was like for testing oil or something like that. And that's what I wanted. So I'm kind of mad that I didn't get that. Or not mad, but upset. But whatever. So we're just going along, running. It's, you know, if you take out the 2 big climbs for the 5 miler, it's a lot of rolling hills. So nothing too major otherwise. A little muddy in spots, a little wet. A lot less wet than I was expecting, and you're going to hear me say that when I get to the 13. With all the rain that we had last night, I'm not sure how much they actually got up here, but it looked like they got a bunch from the radar that I was tracking all day. And just some of the the muddy spots, you could tell it did get hammered pretty good. So I was expecting it to be a sloppy, shitty mess where I was going to have like loose footing. And if that was the case, I was just going to take it easy all day today and not risk getting hurt for the other shit that I have coming up. But it actually wasn't too bad. The footing was pretty good during the 5 mile race, but I just kept them in view. I was pretty close to them. I would say probably no more than 5-10 seconds behind them until like mile 4, or a little after mile 4. There was a lot of little bridges on the course, so I did take my time on them because they were slick, and I just didn't want to slip off or fall and get hurt my ego at all. So I was playing it smart, you know, using my trail knowledge to my advantage. Well, at least I thought it was to my advantage. Just running a better competition in the 5. But it was also giving me a preview for the 13 miler, because you're running probably most of the 5 mile course, except for maybe a half mile, because we do miss the one bridge, like it's the swinging bridge or something. I don't know. I'd have to look at the map to see how much we actually vary, but we'll just call it 4 miles of the 5 miles. So I'm putting that in the back of my head later on when I get to certain areas. I knew what was coming up, because I can't remember from 2022 what the hell the course looked like. I just knew there was a climb, even though I had my GPX file telling me the elevation and the hills and what was left. Visually, I just couldn't remember anything. But I was just waiting for my moment. It just never came. And I know at the 1-8 station, like right after we crossed this one bridge, is when I did take over second for a little bit. But then with like a half mile or 0.6 left, I got second place to go around me because he was right behind me, and I was feeling the pressure a little bit to go faster, and I knew my legs just didn't have it. So I didn't want to screw up his race or feel the pressure and like burn myself up more. than I already was, which is a smarter move. But what I want to say is, I wish I would have tried a little bit harder during the 5 miler and maybe burnt myself up trying to get that first overall. But I didn't think they were in the stacked races, so I didn't think they were both doing both races. I should have asked them beforehand, or when I was near them, because then I would have pulled back a little bit. Well, I probably would have went after the 5 miler more aggressively than the 13, and just hung back on the 13. Again, I wanted the first place award for the 5 miler. I can't stress that enough. It was pretty cool. I don't know, it was pretty straightforward for the 5. I had a little burst of energy. I was feeling it. Like it would come and go, but it just never fully stayed. And that's even on the flats or the downhills, even the uphill. Well, I power walked any of the inclines, just trying to save myself a little bit, which helped, because again, I'm taking 1 or 2 steps to their 5 or 6, so I'm not putting as much wear and tear on my body. I know as we finally descended that last 4 tenths, 5 tenths before we come into like the finish line, I could still see them, and I could see them on the road that last couple tenths in view, but there was nothing I could do about it. I got a red line there, but I still was going to catch them. They just ran a lot better. The course itself is not technical in the 5 miler. Very runnable, and I should have been able to run it a lot harder and a lot better. I don't know. I just knew I just didn't have it for the 5. Just wasn't awake. But I came in with like 41 minutes-ish, I think 41 and a half. So I had what? 45 to 50 minute time to recover. So that's what I tried to do a little bit after talking with Top 2. Went and drank a Fit Aid with 200 milligrams caffeine, the mango flavored one. That did wake me up a lot. Put another bottle in my naked belt, because I figured for the 13 I definitely needed 18 ounces. They say the aid stations are 4-ish miles apart, but the first one you encounter on the 13 is pretty close to 5. I can't recall when the second one is, but we'll say it's 9, or no, maybe there's 3 on the 13, but the first one's at 5-ish, and we'll say 8 and 10. Yeah, there was definitely not one the last 2.5 miles. Maybe a little, yeah, I would say between 2.5 and 3 miles left is when that last one is. Could be a little bit off, but my recollection, that's when it was. So for the 13, my plan going in was to run comfortably and see what those other 2 were doing, because I saw that they were, well, I talked to them after the 5 mile, and they both said they were doing the half as well. So my plan was to see how they reacted body-wise, because I knew I could recover, but I wasn't sure how my body was going to react. That was like the big question mark of the day. Because, you know, not many people could do a race, take a break, and then go back out and do another one without adverse effects. Of course, it depends on how fast they go as well. But But this time we start closer to the museum, and we do, I would say, a mile around the museum area before we hit the first couple miles of the 5-miler. And the three of us just basically separated from the field and just basically taking it easy. And, you know, I don't want to say a gentleman's agreement, but the three of us basically said that, you know, we weren't filling the bet like 100%, but we were just going to let things play out, sort of type deal. That's what happened. I was in, I think I was second place the whole, well, for the 13-miler. I was in second place till the first aid station, that, you know, 5-mile range. Just hanging back, but third place finisher, second place finisher in the 5-miler, third place in the 13 was like right on me. I was just watching the kid who won the 5-miler in front of me the first 5 miles till we hit that aid station. He wasn't carrying any hydration on him. And I was like, all right, if he takes any, well, I figured he was gonna at some point have to take water and hydration because he wasn't carrying any. That was when I wasn't gonna make a move, but that's when he was gonna give me the opportunity to take the lead and get ahead of him, and that's exactly what I did. I saw him taking drinks at the aid station. He stopped at the aid station, and I just like flew right through it. They're like, "Oh, you want anything to drink?" I just kept going. That was my opportunity to separate from him. At that point, felt all right then, but third place was right behind me, which was second at the time. He had a bottle on him, and I could just hear him for about another mile. Yeah. See, he was with me at least for a mile, maybe 2, call it 6 or 7. There was a downhill, and that's when I separated from him. But early on, we were still running together pretty good. The course was a little bit more sloppy. The parts that we ran already for the 5-miler, just because of the foot traffic, so it did get used up a little bit more. But it wasn't bad. It was still runnable, just a little bit sloppier. It wasn't like slick shit or thick mud where you're slipping your ankles or you're losing traction at all. So that was kind of nice. It's not rocky, really technical too much during the whole race. The 13's a little bit rockier and it has some bigger rocks, but as soon as you get in them, you're basically out of them again. You just have to pay attention you don't hit one here or there that's spaced out or a root. But for the first 4 or 5 miles, I was just filling them out. And my plan was actually to go around, if I was not in first by then, around mile 10. So it gave me some leeway to bank some time if I could take that first, or recover if I blew up going around. But since I took the lead at mile 5, I didn't really have to, but I did feel the pressure for a while third place was behind me. Until I dropped him. I did power walk the hills. So there's a lot more hills. There's 1,800 feet of gain in 13 miles, or 16 or 1,800 feet of gain. I would say it's probably close to 1,700, somewhere in that range. 5-mile is 800. But I did power walk a lot of the hills, like any type of the incline, just to save my legs. Otherwise, I would have blown the hell up, but I still did anyhow. But I kept looking back after that, the big descent at like 6 or 7. I looked back and I didn't see anybody behind me, so I knew I had at least a solid minute then. But I was like, well, that's still not enough time to A, win the snatch combined times, or at that point in the race to be comfortable where I thought I could win. I just knew at some point somebody eventually was going to catch up to me. It was just a matter of fact when. Thankfully nobody did, and nobody came into view, because if somebody came into view, I think mentally I would have ended up checking myself out. Had one of those like mental lapses. I know at the second aid station, after we crossed this one bigger bridge that you can run, well, you could drive over, it's wide enough for cars. I took a quick gulp of water and some Gatorade, and my stomach basically turned instantly. Because right after that, you go up a hill. I don't know what it was. I just chugged that water too fast, or the Gatorade, or maybe it was just funky water that I'm not used to. But as soon as we started hitting that uphill, I'm just like choking, like throwing up, like dry heaving. And I'm like, oh shit, this is like, well, there's your race. So it's like, here they're gonna be coming now. Now you're gonna fuck up and blow up. But I don't know what it was. It took me probably 3 to 5 minutes just to recover from that. But again, it was uphill, so I'm power walking, looking behind, and I was like, all right, I got a nice gap still. There's nobody coming. See, at least got out of that one unscathed, sort of, if you want to call it that. But I'm out 8.5 range. I blew up. I don't know what it was. I was done. My body just basically said, no more, you're too hot, you're too overheated, you gotta stop. And I did for probably 15 seconds, 20 seconds. I was trying to get my heart rate down, and I was just hurting bad. I was like, yep. It was another one of those things. I was like, yep, when they come, I was like, you're done, just hang it up, take it easy, because you just don't have it. I was in bad shape. My heart rate was in the 170s all race. I want to say it was all race. Every time I looked at my watch, I was like, wow. I was like, you're running way too high of a heart rate. Not that I was pushing or redlining my body, like speed-wise, or pushing it to the limits. It's just, my heart rate just was so damn high, I couldn't get it down. I don't know if it was the humidity, my body was just tired. I think a lot of it had to do with the caffeine today, because the Celsius had some caffeine in it, and then the Fit-Aid that I had, 200 milligrams of it. So I think that just got into my system and absorbed. It was just making my heart rate, 20 beats higher than it should have been. Because I like to keep mine under 160, but I couldn't get it under 160 no matter what I was doing. Like my breathing, like power walking the hills, it would not go down under 170. And I'm just burning so much energy, and it was taking so much out of me, and I couldn't control it. And I was just in such a bad ass spot. No way around it. But when I hit that like 8.5 mark, whew, it was probably one of the worst feelings I've had in forever. Maybe since Laurel Highlands 70 last year. That's how bad I felt. I just didn't think I could go on or do anything to fend off them from coming. Somehow I did, and managed to get my body going again. I'm not saying I had any energy to do anything. there might have been the same thing that happened in the 5 mile. I had some spurts of energy, but nothing where I was confident in. Like some of the flatter or the decline, like the little easier declines, like I was starting to feel it. My legs are like, all right, you know, we like this, but the steeper shit, and then like some of the inclines would come back, and I was just dying once again. It was so horrible. I know there was a couple creeks that I finally got the splash and washed myself off a little bit. That was probably a savior. I know my head was really hot and overheated. A, from the humidity and the sun being out, and 2, from my heart rate just being so high. Played such a huge role in that. But I could just definitely feel like my head almost like throbbing from the heat, or how hot it felt. But the second half, we'll say after that, like 8.5 miles, I feel the course gets a little bit easier, or it gets into my wheelhouse a little bit more than before then at 8.5. It's just like the rollingness, or just in general how I like courses, like the rollingness, the ups and downs, like the mixing it up a little bit instead of like steep climbs. It was more up and downs and switching the muscles a lot more. So it did play into my wheelhouse a little bit more, and that was probably a savior as well. Plus, most of the elevation was actually gone by that point. I know whatever point it was after that, it was 1,400 feet of that 16, 17. So there wasn't much left. I just struggled and just trying to keep going, putting down times. With those little speed bursts, I was trying to use it as much as possible. Maybe that was a downfall, using those speed bursts and just trying to stay steady. But sometimes you just have to ride those waves and take what you can get. Trying to gap the field or stay ahead as much as possible. And again, the long stretches, I was looking back on those uphills, and I just didn't see anybody, and I was still confident that I had a solid minute. But that doesn't mean I don't fall or do something stupid where I blow up again and they just blow right past me. And I was thinking the whole time, I was the guy who finished third, I was waiting for him to come. I wasn't thinking that young kid was going to catch back up, because I figured he wasn't taking, well, he had to stop at the aid station to take water, so I was expecting him to actually finish third, but he had finished second just because he had to stop at the aid stations, whereas the other guy didn't. But then again, I took water and Gatorade at number 2 and number 3 just because I had a gap and I could see that I had a minute. Otherwise I would not have. If I saw them coming, probably would have blown, or at least tried to, because I still had my bottles, but in my bottles was noon with caffeine, and maybe it should have been water or something else, because that probably was making my heart rate as well during the race, because I already had the caffeine in me on top of more caffeine from my electrolytes. So I probably had 400 to 500 milligrams of caffeine, which is way too much this morning. Probably hit a wall here in a little bit. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else to tell you guys. It's a nice course, very runnable course. Flagged very well. The flagging, I will say this, is on the ground, which is nice, because if you heard some of my other race recaps, I really do like the ground flagging now. just because it lets me concentrate on my footing more than having to watch flagging hang from trees. So from that aspect, it's nice. What else? There was a shit ton, when I say a shit ton, of those orange newts, geckos, whatever the hell they are. I think they're newts. On the course. And that was one of the things I was thankful for, the flagging being on the ground, was being able to avoid them. When I say a shit ton, I mean it was littered. There had to be 400 to 500, and that's not even an exaggeration of how many were on that 13-mile course. There was a couple hundred on the 5-mile course, and it was double that on the 13. So I'm just trying to avoid them as well while watching my footing, so I didn't step in any, and I didn't want to kill anybody. So I'm hoping other people were as cognizant of that as well, because some were small and some were, you know, you can tell were adult sized. I'm sure a few ended up getting stepped on because people weren't paying attention. But when I was running, I was definitely trying to pay attention to that. And that definitely slowed me down a little bit, but trying to respect nature and not hurt those things. Because actually, I think those orange newts, I know it's a little bit of a tangent off the race itself, are pretty cool looking. And I like watching them, so I don't know what it is with that course or that area that they have so many, but damn. But it was cool to see them all today on the course. But yeah, as we plugged along, there's the last couple uphills, and then we finally hit some flatter, and then started the downhills with like 2 miles left. I was definitely feeling low on energy. My stomach was starting to cramp and feel drained and empty. But I knew I had to come up with something just to push through and maintain. And I'm just looking at my watch. I'm like, oh man, how much is left? It's like, you just got to hold off for, you know, 10, 15 more minutes, you know, and at least take home the hatchet. Who cares if you don't get the stack time? Just try to get the hatchet and hold on as long as humanly possible, even if it costs you later, energy-wise. And somehow I did. And I wasn't, you know, I wanted to win the stacked as well, but I was more concerned about getting the hatchet and just staying in front and holding on as long as I could. And, you know, obviously, as I said, unless they passed me or caught me, then the game plan would have just been to finish and not die on the course. Dude, I'm telling you, the heart was just, whoo. But yeah, I did it, and I didn't, even coming into the finish, I didn't put down the hammer at all, you know, use up my last little bit of energy and trying to get the stat time comfortably. I just figured I was going to let that play out. So like my 1:53 time for the 13 miler was about, yeah, I think I set it up for 1:50, so it was 3 minutes slower than what I was hoping for. Don't remember my time from when I did it in 2022, but I want to say it was that 150 range or 147. I'd have to go back and look, but overall I definitely finished 5 minutes slower for the stacked combined times than I did in 2022. But I still hold the record for the combined times, which is awesome. He has records, you know, there's old big, whatever they, 45s or whatever they are, with your name on them and the course records. I think mine was still sitting there. Yeah, but yeah, I was definitely 5 minutes slower overall maybe 6 in the combined times, and even 3 minutes slower. So yeah, it would have been 5 minutes, 2 minutes-ish on the 5, and then 3 on the stacked. So my Pace Pro would have been 150 from 13, because that would have been like my finish time before. Whatever. I'm confusing myself. But I did get a cool little hatchet axe thing for winning the 13. It's engraved, so I did get to take that home. So it's the second time I got one of those, which is always nice. I like those. I do like those as well, I'm not gonna lie, but I did want that different thing today for the 5 miler. But no big deal, I still got the hatchet. And then I did take the stacked time by like a minute and a half. I knew it after I finished because I was watching. I was like, all right, I'm ahead by like 2 minutes from the Thiel guy. So I knew then when he came in, and I was just watching time tick away, that I did take the stacked. So for the stacked combined times, you get, well, I got $50 today in all ones. Ended up buying 4 pairs of socks off of them for $5. Because like, I bought some off of Revive, like the Rocksylvania socks. They were $20 a pair. So I was like, he was just selling his old ones for $5 for previous years. So I was like, hell, I'll buy 4 pairs for the price of Revive. Being smart. Plus, I needed some actual trail socks to use. And other than that, I hung around till like the last finisher. Did talk to a bunch of people today, some friends, and some of the newer people that I met today, like top 2, was talking to them a little bit. Just sharing stories and enjoying the day. Did do a live video of the people finishing. We'll say I probably got half of the 5 milers. And then I got all the 13 milers on my live feed on YouTube at the finish line. So I thought it was nice to do today. Sit up on my phone, trying that out a little bit, testing it, see how that plays out for other races. Instead of using my GoPro, just the video. Well, I'll probably do both, but it's just nice to do a live feed as well. So people can see themselves. You just can't get clips and shit off of it. But after we finished, I was definitely hurting, as I said before. I needed ice right away just to cool myself down, to get my heart rate down, because I knew I needed it down. I was just there rubbing ice all over my body, my wrists, my head. It took me about 5 to 7 minutes to cool myself down enough where I was recovering again. Drank some water and some Gatorade. Well, I had some Funyuns later on, like an hour later. I did change. I felt good after I changed, but it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Changing, I didn't cramp or nothing. But 13-mile course overall wasn't bad either. It's not technical. It wasn't sloppy. There was a couple of hikers that weren't paying attention. I know when I was going across the one longer single track ridge, like there was 3 people starting to come over, and I'm like, yeah, like you know, I just wanted to like stop. Like the one woman was still coming. I'm like, fuck. And then there was one dude on a little bit of a decline. I came around a corner. He wasn't paying attention. I'm like, hey, hey. So he got like, saw me coming and got out of the way. Took 2 poops after the race before I left. So I finally flushed my system pretty good before I actually left. Of course, I was there for 2-ish hours after I finished. you know, again, taking that live feed and watching everybody else come in and just talking to people. But I also wanted to stay there for a while just to recover, and regroup a little bit. I'm trying to think what I had after the race. Also, I had a normal Fit Aid, non-caffeinated, because I knew I couldn't take any more, and I only brought one. I drank my Bundaberg ginger ale because my stomach was hurting, and I knew I couldn't really eat anything yet. So I drank that, and that settled my stomach pretty good. Plus, it has a bunch of sugar in it, so I was getting some calories in me. I think it was like 170 calories, which isn't much, but something to settle my stomach with that ginger in it. And then, yeah, just drank some more water and Gatorade. I finally had the Funyuns. Maybe a Reese's or two. I didn't eat any of the hot dogs because they were grilling them, and I'm like, my stomach's not ready for that. Needed some watermelon though. Wish he had some watermelon. I'll have to wait a couple days to get a couple finish line pictures of Jake handed me the award and stuff, and then us top 3. So I'm just gonna throw up a generic one on YouTube for this video now. He did a good. Jacob does a pretty good. I don't know if he likes Jacob, but it's Jacob. Does a real good job getting everything set up, volunteers, and making sure we're going the right way. The flagging, it's very noticeable. It's pink flagging on the, like I said, on the ground, and at the turns he makes sure there's a couple there, so you know there's a turn coming. And even at the split, where the 5 mile goes to the left and the 13 goes to the right, he had somebody standing there today directing us for the 5. And then after all the 5 came through, they actually pulled the flagging, the first couple flags or so for the 5 miler, so everybody knew for the 13 to stay to the right. If you did both, or if you were just doing the 13. No, we didn't get confused at that T intersection, and they didn't have to have somebody there for, you know, 3-4 hours directing people. So that was kind of smart. I did like that aspect. I don't think anybody got lost. I don't think anybody got hurt. I did see some busted up knees and some people that did fall. I don't think there was any DNFs. I think overall everybody came home healthy and happy, or was heading home happy and healthy. Just a little bit tired because the heat did suck a lot of shit out of people. I'm glad I went. Not necessarily how happy I performed. Definitely not happy about that. Could have done better with a little bit more rest. But I'm not necessarily going to complain. Because overall I had a good time. I enjoyed going there. And it's just fun to be able to do the stacked races, being able to do both. Plus I wanted to try to win both. You know, it gives me 2 races for the weekend. And it gives me good training. You know, to start and stop type deal. So I do enjoy that. Just another way to train your body. Like I said, the other 2 guys who were with me, or the competitors, you know, it was fun, like, meeting them, and then, like, pushing each other. So, it's always fun to see new competition, even though, I will say, I didn't tell them, but I'll say it now, I was reading them a little bit early on, seeing what their weaknesses was and their strengths. I was being a little bit smart about that. I'm not going to tell you what their weaknesses and strengths were, but I was paying attention, so if I did need to attack, I knew when to and how to. If they hear this, I know what they are. Other than that, I'm not really sure what else to add. If you get a chance, check out the Oil Creek Stacked races. You'll have a good time. I enjoy it. Jacob and his family and his volunteers do an excellent job. And what's really cool is the Drake Well Museum, like the oil museum, is right there. Obviously that's where I pooped, but the whole museum's right there, so it's nice to be able to go and look at the museum and explore it after the race. So, you know, maybe if you're racing, your family can go inside and look around, or if you know you want to do the family thing after you're done, it's a nice option. Even outside, they have not just a museum, they also have like a bunch of buildings and stuff, like showing you different, I don't know how to say it, like the evolution or whatever, the technology of the different things. You can actually see like movement of the machines and stuff, like for the oil industry from way back when, in the history of like Titusville. So that's another cool aspect why I tell people they should go to the race, because they'll enjoy that. So yeah, I guess that's about it. So finished third in the 5 miler, first in the 13 miler, and I took the stacked combined times. Don't make me do the math. I don't know, whatever, 41 minutes and like an hour 53, so whatever that combined time is, hour 34? We'll say it's an hour 34, hour 35. It's a little bit slower than before, but all things considered, I guess since I pulled it, I can show you my hatchet. A cool hatchet. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, so if you do like the 5 mile, you get a pair of socks. So pretty good socks. And also, I think you also, if you just do the 13, so if you just do one race, you get a pair of socks. And if you do both, you get the hat. Yeah, obviously it's a stacked races, 5 and 13. So we do get that, which is pretty nice. So yeah, pretty cool experience. If you've never done them before, if you do, go back. I don't think you'll regret it at all.